Duxford. The very mention of the word conjures up a vision of aircraft of all shapes and sizes, all ages and types. But there is more to Duxford than meets the eye. Duxford is tucked into the angle between the southern edge of the A505 and the eastern edge of the M11, but you'd hardly know it. There are quiet corners which might be miles from any motorway. And for most of the day, the main street is calm enough for Jane and Mark and Lucy to ride in reasonable safety. We've caught the little bus just in time. It's immaculate, a reflection of the pride of its owner-driver, but it's had to be sold. In spite of being in perfect health, regulations say Clifford Neal is too old at 73 to be an operator. It hardly seems fair. His neighbours, like Christine Bradley and Lorraine, will miss Duxford's own little bus. There's a frequent sight in the village. It's not a genuine vintage van. It's one of those characterful conversion jobs to catch the eye. Mrs. Ives prepares and delivers all kinds of floral arrangements in the neighbourhood and around. There's evidently a do of some sort going on at the big house by the green. I wonder what? A wedding? A christening? An anniversary? They're all new, but look old because the design of these pots has hardly changed in 1,000 years and more. The potters of Italy and Crete, Provence and Greece, the Middle and Far East, have taken over where their forefathers left off. They've mechanised a bit and tuned up their marketing, but it's still terracotta, Maggie Stewart's speciality. There's a bit of local indignation about the roadside signs which urge a detour to the one-time junk shop, but Maggie is intent on putting terracotta on the map.
It's kind to plants. It's always been used for planting. Plastics came in. They're still here with us, but those who enjoy terracotta, it's pleasant, it's natural, it's green.
It's warm.
It's warm,
yeah.
And it comes in many different colours too.
But what are the particular qualities which make it so good in the garden?
It's long-lasting if it's looked after properly. The plants like it because it keeps them cool, it gives them a good root run, and if you watch a pot that has a terracotta pot with plants in it, all the roots come and cling to the pot, and they grow better.
What exactly is terracotta? It's a brace of words we bandy about, yet I'm not entirely sure what they mean.
Terra, if you go back to your school days, is Latin. It's terra, terra firma, earth. Cotta means cook, so it's fired or cooked earth. And all the earths in the different parts of the country are different colours, hence the different colours in pots.
But I had heard it's rather prone to damage by frost.
But it can be if it's underfired. In other words, if it's under 1,000 degrees. It's only for this country. 1,000 degrees is the optimum start temperature. If it's under that, it will absorb too much moisture, frost come and it gets shattered. So if you really look at your pot, we teach you how to look after it. Lift it up on pot feet is a must during the winter months for extra drainage, proper drainage material. Never ever gravel inside it because the gravel binds with the roots and blocks the hole. And then we give you an extra tip of actually varnishing your rims to bounce the water off. Because you've seen old pots where they crumble, they flake.
So the water can't penetrate from the top?
So they don't penetrate the body of the pot.
How do these foreign potters react to the realisation that their wares are being dispensed in a tiny village enterprise like this?
It's amazing to them, but it's even more amazing to us. Because we never expected to sell that many pots.
Do you get pot enthusiasts, pot experts turning up?
Yes, you could call them potty people, rather like us.
Duxford's got two churches. St John's here has been redundant for well over a century, but the Longstaffs, Jim and Phyllis, are among those who make sure it's not neglected. They keep the churchyard presentable. St John's has been called a church crawler's dream, a phrase used often by Roy Tricker of the Redundant Churches Fund.
It's one of those precious gems that has been considered worthy of church and state money for its preservation.
Right. What are the aspects of it then which are so worthy of preservation?
Well, I don't know.
The wall painting.
I don't know where we start. Every wall of this church we know has got its original wall paintings. And what we're looking at here is we're looking at 700 years, covered over for probably 400 of them with plaster.
What's the story here? I mean, that looks like some sort of huge insect there.
That's got to be hell, hasn't it? There's a decapitated head, the experts tell me here, and they're prodding this personification of evil into some pit. Good physical religion, this, Paul.
Keeps you on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
Certainly keep me on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, you
Now,
bet.
this, of course, is the parish beer, which has found a happy home here.
Yes, B-I-E-R.
Oh, yes. Now, graffiti is nothing new, and we've had occasion to observe that many times. We've got some here.
Yes, D. Reeves. He's
Mm.
perpetuated, if he's still around, 1938. But this is the real McCoy. It's Latin, and I'm not a Latin scholar, but I know it's a prayer in writing which is probably 600 years old. And isn't it beautiful writing?
Isn't it extraordinary that graffiti actually should have an historic value?
Yes, random doodlings in the clunch walls, which were so soft.
Yeah. But what about the people in these pews here? Were they, as it were, second-class citizens compared with those in the body of the church here?
Well, actually, Paul, I would suspect they were probably first-class citizens because they had seats of honour where they couldn't be seen by those out there.
Aha, yes, how very discreet. Something else which I find actually rather amusing. In the television business, we call them idiot boards. The reminders up here of the words of the Lord's Prayer and of the Creed for the benefit of those who've forgotten, presumably.
Well, you see, those replaced the wall paintings. The superstitious pictures were replaced by the real word. There was their faith up there. They could read it. It was in English, not in Latin. As field officer, I'm rather ashamed of the place when visitors come because I am not allowed so much as to take a feather duster to those walls. I'm forbidden to do so because they are so precious.
But one day, will they be revealed?
I'd like to think so. We've revealed the first few up there that we've looked at. Might be 20, 30, 50 years.
You've got a lot of churches in your care. Does this one give you a special buzz?
This one is special. As I say, it's a church crawler's dream. You've got everything here. You've got all ages. You've got no straight lines and the atmosphere of 900 years of prayer and care. That's got to be special, hasn't it?
Ladies and gentlemen, Bedfordshire Lace Ladies Morris will now perform their celebrated handkerchief dance, Catherine's Cross.
Pretty well every summer weekend, the coach companies do goodish business, ferrying dancers from pub to pub. Bedfordshire Lace are tripping the tarmac in the yard at the back of the John Barleycorn. It's a feat of endurance. They'll dance their stint, then it's back on the bus, shoes off, feet up till the next pub, and start all over again. It's a pub crawl with bells on. There's a bonus at the Barleycorn today. Now beating a tattoo on the tarmac are the ladies of Standon Green Clog Morris from Hertfordshire. Clog your way to fitness with good companions is their rallying cry, and it seems to work. What's more, it's a good generation bridge. Look at the range on display today. Clog on, ladies. Hardly a cottage industry, but it's part of Duxford, Sieber-Geigy. The name is Swiss, but this factory began as an English enterprise called Aero Research. The founder, Norman de Bruni, bought the site in 1934. He pioneered the development of glue for aircraft construction. What was good for aeroplanes was good for other applications, and the firm grew. And the name of that pre-war glue survives to this day, Aerolite. Norman de Bruni not only worked in Duxford, he made it his home as well, wise man. His school friend and colleague Robert Lee was wise as well. He bought the watermill to live in. They tell me that Duxford Watermill is mentioned in the Doomsday Book, and very likely it is. And something else that they told me is that this was the spot which inspired Charles Kingsley to write The Water Babies, the Victorian tale of the little chimney sweep, ugly, black and ragged, who was taken down into the waters for adventures under the careful supervision of the water fairies.
And when you look at the limpid pool here and the stream, it's hardly surprising that he might have been inspired. However, though that's what they say, I've found no confirmation of that story, that he was ever here. But a story doesn't have to be true to be good, does it? As Kingsley himself wrote at the end of The Water Babies, if my story is not true, then something better is.
This is the studio and workshop of Norman de Bruyne's son-in-law, Peter Fluck. The current sculptural project involves mobiles like this, an assembly of slim and colourful tubes, carefully balanced and counterbalanced, animated geometry. But like it or not, Peter is better known for these sculptures, jointly created with Roger Law. Cruel compliments paid to leaders and lesser figures. Not many laughs in mobiles, though. The clown plays Hamlet, or does he?
There never really was much opportunity for clowning about doing spitting image. It's very hard work. No, it's not. It's just different.
But spitting image, you're definitely playing for laughs, whereas with this...
For laughs, yeah. Although you could say in spitting image, one thing you have to do is to entertain people. And especially what I'm trying to do with these things is to give people a moment of entertainment. But the important thing about spitting image is it's the product of a team of people. It always was. And Roger and I founded it in the sense that we took our caricature skills to it and made the puppets. And with a certain sort of humour which was deeply embedded in the traditions of caricature and cartooning. And that, with the involvement of a lot of other people, got on the screen.
The household name, fame, a fleeting thing though, unreliable. The world's at your feet, then your personal sky falls down. You're part of yesterday, but you won't let go. Spitting image, not great sculpture, but very good, and born in Duxford. In 1794, the Congregationalist worshippers of Duxford built their chapel. In 1859, they built an extension to accommodate vestries and a schoolroom. But traffic passing the doors, flush with the pavement, made it dangerous. So, in 1994, they knocked it down again. Amen. Here's another nonconformist chapel. I suppose the word for it is utilitarian. It's a workshop as well as a place for spiritual adjustment. Those who do rest here for a while aren't disturbed at all by the noise. Marion Skeets is using the technology of minimum waste. If it's being burned, plastic will do. Burials use brass so that remains can be identified if there's a reshuffle at the cemetery. Ron Skeets, funeral director, day and night service. Marion is married to David, Ron Skeets' son, keeping it in the family.
It was something I always wanted to do, and I wanted to leave school early because Father wouldn't let me, and I was a bit of a nuisance. So I used to have the odd day off at school.
Isn't it rather disturbing initially to come into such a profession?
No, not really. It was just a natural thing I wanted to do.
How did you feel then, Ron, when he decided that he wanted to join you?
Well, obviously I tried to keep him at school for the start, but he pressured me and he actually came into the business with us, which was fine.
Were you glad?
Big help.
How do you set about teaching a person to become an undertaker?
Well, it's quite hard at the start because you've got to meet people that are always upset. You've got to learn to help people. That's the main thing.
I mean, I would imagine that's a very satisfying part of the job, is that you're dealing with people at a critical time of their lives.
Very much, yes. Yeah.
You're rare birds, aren't you? Because here you are with a relatively small enterprise in a business which is increasingly dominated by huge conglomerates.
We are a small family business, and we find from the amount of people that we deal with that this is what they want.
Notwithstanding the melancholy and macabre nature of your business, you both seem very good-humoured.
Well, I had a lady say to me once when we was just finishing the funeral, and she said, why is it when I see you, Ron, that you're always smiling? And I just said to her quite casually, well, I'm not in the box, you see.
Ron Skeets remembers using the old beer, now in St John's Church. Times have changed. The tip of an iceberg. Is it Georgian or Tudor or an Airfix kit? Actually, it's a barn conversion, though when you think about it, it's still a barn. But in 1948, grain and machinery gave way to antiques. Hardly a foot of space goes to waste, and beyond the showroom there's the restoration department, where once cherished items are rescued from neglect and decay and brought back to life. This place has a good reputation in the film and TV business. Props buyers in search of authentic items are frequent and satisfied customers of Ryro D. Mooney and Sons, though Ryro believes the media have distorted the antiques business.
Yeah, just where you get some magazines where you can pick up this old sofa like this in a junk shop for next to nothing, £2. Not true when they say these things. You might be lucky in doing it, but you can't in general other things. And also people think when they've got something, a picture or some nice bit of furniture they see on the roadshow, oh, I've got one like that, but you never have got that same thing. Those are so rare, the things they show on roadshow, but it gives people, I think, a bit of a false impression.
It's the same old story. We're seduced by the belief that the cash price of an object is a measure of its value. But the only true measure of the worth of something is what it means to us. That's the bit that nobody ever believes. Now this is a novelty, a bank of such modest dimensions, certainly small change in the eyes of the major clearing banks, but nevertheless fully functional here in Duxford. But there's a bank in this village which deals in smaller change still.
Next, please. Good morning, how are you? Okay, thank you. Please can I pay this into my account? £5.
Small change, but real money, because it's a real bank with all the appropriate courtesies. Well, almost all.
What's your name?
The children at the village primary school run the bank themselves, though there is advice and supervision from grown-up bank staff like Teresa Patterson. The lesson is, this is how money really works. Save 10 quid or more, and there's a sports bag in it for you, handed over by the manager no less, Jenny Huckstep. This is the fertile and intensively cultivated spread which is the province of Agnello Di Martino. He came to Duxford to work in the mid-40s, and he stayed. His allotment is remarkable for the exotic produce, much of it grown from seed, for its sheer size, and for its novel greenhouses. Mediterranean vegetables and fruit need Mediterranean conditions. Mr. Di Martino has the secret.
My daughter before work in a furniture shop, you know. Him when cutting a polythene from the bed, he saved for me.
Right, so what was wrapping up a bed then becomes your window?
Yeah.
How long does it last though? Because it flaps about in the wind.
Every year change. Change every year.
So you spend most of your time rebuilding your greenhouse?
Yeah, no, easy, you know. Take maybe me to do maybe one Sunday morning, you know, when no wind, you know. Maybe wind you could do nothing.
It's a very economical way of making a greenhouse.
Oh yeah, very good. I like ground aubergine, peppers, hot chili, like that.
They tell me that you win all the trophies at the local shows.
Nearly every year.
What's the secret?
Don't know. Every year, last year best group. Year before best group, last year best tomorrow.
Saturday morning, school's out and school's in. From Duxford and villages beyond, the trails lead here. In a few minutes, every corner, corridor and cupboard in this place will be alive with music. The range they cover is very wide, from doleful, soulful, introspective ballads to brash and jaunty echoes of holidays on the Costa del Sol. Duxford's Saturday Workshop. It was begun in 1973, primarily for children. Parents and older brothers and sisters would deliver and collect them, sometimes having to hang around till class is finished. So the founders, Jill and Jonathan Steinberg, had the bright idea of inviting them to join in. Never played a thing before? Have a go, they said. Music is for everybody. Now whole families turn up. An early learner was Greg Smith, who practiced and eventually became a trustee and teacher. What makes the workshop so brilliantly successful where similar schemes often fail?
I think it's expectations more than anything else. If you were to put it forward as a music school, then people will be expecting total excellence everywhere, and that is not what we're about. We aim to get people started, to give them an interest, to give them a chance to look at something, and then we hope that if we get them enthusiastic, that then they will move on and find someone else to carry them forward, perhaps at a professional level, perhaps just as an enthusiastic amateur.
Musical instruments can be very expensive. How do people afford them?
If someone wants to learn to play the trombone, then, and they're not sure if they're going to be good at it, then it's much easier for us to provide them with the trombone as long as we've got one, or we beg or borrow one from somewhere. Get them started. Then if they like it, we hope that they will then get the money together to get one for themselves, because you do need your own instrument ultimately.
This is a group thing, it's a corporate activity, but from time to time you must see stars emerging.
It's very nice when you see a child go through here, or even an adult who picks something up and then runs with it. And then they come back a few years later and you're amazed where they've gone.
So the point to be made here is that it's never ever too late to learn an instrument.
Yes, it's never too late. It's always a good idea to do it. It broadens you and it gives you something more, another dimension to your life.
They started at 9:30. They've done their classes, had a tea break. Now it's time for a bit of corporate music making, all together, mainly for fun. The workshop is a charity administered by trustees. No one is paid to teach. The reward is the achievement of the original goal, having children and adults making music side by side. There is more to Duxford than the aerodrome, but that doesn't diminish the significance of aeroplanes in the lives of Duxford people. Nearly every day is punctuated by the sight and sound of aircraft, practicing for events like this or en route to other air shows. And this is the Imperial War Museum, a fixed attraction which brings traffic to Duxford's doorstep every week of the year. Duxford's aerial associations go back to World War I. Over the years, American aircraft have been based here. Aeroplanes captured from the Germans were flown around Duxford to evaluate their performance. Flamboyant flyers have carved up Duxford's sky. One of the most flamboyant of all was Douglas Bader, who led a combined force of Duxford Hurricanes and Spitfires. The list of characters, events and achievements in aviation history which have Duxford connections is long. So it's appropriate that the aerodrome should be picked as a showplace. It's a privilege of a sort for the village, and a pain in the neck, of course, as they look up to watch the planes go by.